Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this Durbanites FPL Game Week 22 review and Game Week 23 preview. Another short one this week because we have a game week in the next few hours. So, looking at the movers on the table, I'm happy to be up at second, far away from Mohamed Sadiq, who's on his fifth week at the top, but at least getting a challenge from third. And then our other big mover, Zaida, moving up from 10th spot to 8th, making big moves. And there's a lot of competition there at the bottom of the table now, so keep watching that. Now, looking at the play selection from our selections this week, Pedro Porro moves into the top staple that we have, 8 out of 10 managers with him. Watkins, Palmer, Alvarez, all of them hanging at 7 out of 10. William Saliba, Alphonse Areola, Kevin De Bruyne, and Kieran Trippier, all of them now owned by 6 out of 10. Noticeable by his absence, Mohamed Salah, of course, still at AFCON, and Erling Haaland, who is now back from injury. So let's see how he makes a comeback into the stables. Looking at the differentiators for this week, not a lot of them, but even Tony scoring 10 and just 1 out of 10 managers taking a chance on him. Jordan Pickford in 2 out of 10 lineups, but 1 of them on the bench. And then Bernd Leno coming in with a good 8 this week. And then Ward-Prowse and Bukayo Saka, both of them 4 out of 10 scoring with 10 points each. Looking at the hits and misses for this week. On the hits, birthday boy, so Mohamed Sadiq, actually, who is a birthday boy in the next weekend, has actually scored 26 points by captaining Julian Alvarez, who scored 2 on his birthday. And then Zahida playing her bench boost this week, giving her 73 points and allowing her to make that big jump up the table. In terms of the misses, we've got another hot bench scenario. So Fatih and Squish both having 24 plus points sitting on the bench this week. Not a good week to do that. Now, looking at the best possible selection from our teams, Pickford at the back, quite light on defense. Zinchenko, Trippier, and Tarkowski coming in. Midfield again stealing the show. Ward-Prowse, McAtee, Saka, Richarlison, and De Bruyne. And then looking at Ivan Toney and Alvarez being the captain, this team would have got you 107 without the bench and 131 including the bench at a total cost of 95.2. So not a bad selection for this week. Now, looking at the fixture rating for the week coming up ahead. So quite a few teams that have favorable fixtures, so there's quite a good spread for managers. Aston Villa has got 2 out of 3 good fixtures and a Manchester United team that should be beatable. Then you've got Brighton, who had a terrible shock against Luton last week, but now they're coming up against Crystal Palace and Sheffield United. They're playing Crystal Palace at Brighton's home stadium, so that should be pretty good. Bournemouth still have a few good weeks before meeting up with Newcastle, and Solanke is in great form. Chelsea as well, still able to score goals. They've got Wolves and Crystal Palace coming up before they take on City. Fulham as well, capable of scoring, not really in the best form right now. And then you've got Manchester United, who had a great victory, even though it was really, really close last week. They've got West Ham this week, and then Luton in a couple of weeks. And then Newcastle, who've now put the bad days behind them, looking to really start scoring here. 3 good games for them to get max points from. And Spurs also looking at some favorable fixtures. Now, looking at teams that you might want to be cautious with, Arsenal have some tough games coming up with Liverpool, West Ham coming up. Brentford has got a tough one, playing City twice in 3 weeks, and then Liverpool as well. I would definitely avoid. Looking at Liverpool, they've got Arsenal and Brentford coming up in 2 out of 3 weeks. So right now, not the best time to bring them in. However, if Mo Salah is back from injury and AFCON, it might inspire them to do better. Luton, of course, is going to have a tough time coming up. Newcastle, Manchester United against there. Let's see if they can do something against Sheffield United. And then you've got West Ham, you've got Manchester United, then Arsenal before having a game for us. And Everton, of course, after having a good run, quite a few draws, quite a few clean sheets. They've got Spurs coming this week. Madison is back. Richarlison is in form. Spurs have been really active in the transfer market as well. Timo Werner is doing really well. It's going to be a tough game for Everton. I would definitely avoid. And then City in the next week, and City are looking to cover up. Because that game in hand is going to disappear in game 25, I expect that they're going to go full ball. Erling Haaland is coming back. He's going to want to keep getting the goals in, so just be very cautious with him. Now, looking at the transfer window, so that's closed. Just looking at the big ones, nothing much has changed. So Timo Werner and Radu Dragusin back at Spurs. Sergio Reguilon and Calvin Phillips are both gone on loan, one to Brentford, one to West Ham. And players that have left the Premier League right now, Ivan Perisic and Eric Dyer moving away from Spurs, and Jadon Sancho, most of them going into the German Bundesliga. So we'll probably see them next season, or if they permanently transfer out. So make sure that they are, of course, avoided. Now, looking at our selections this week from the back line, Robert Sanchez and Nick Pope still out, so two of the big goalkeepers are out of action, so no chance of getting them in. Pau Torres still not able to feature for Villa, so that's the only ones that are out, otherwise looking pretty strong. I've left out the Notts Forest defenders because, again, not really selected by many of us, but definitely they are still out, injured, or at AFCON. Now, looking at the picks, Pickford still has a good game in him this week. Looking at Everton's game, and he's got a good form. But then you've got Bernd Leno. Fulham's got some good games where they can hold on to clean sheets. And looking at Neto from Bournemouth still have some good games and a good back line to help them. And he's been known to get some points. From the defensive side, still backing Purvis Estupinan. He's had a bad game against Luton last week away, but at home he's apt to score as well. So I'm still keeping him on the lineup here. And then looking at Pedro Porro and Cuti Romero coming up from Spurs, definitely two of the more consistent performers. Destiny Udogie is another one you might want to look at. And then Kieran Trippier, of course, the assist master as well. And Newcastle do have 3 good games coming up where they could keep a clean sheet and he could get a few points from goals and or assists. So definitely worth the 6.7 you're going to have to lay out for you. Then looking at midfield, poor Brian Mbuemo still out, probably going to be out until March, so that's one goal scorer who is missing out. Then a lot of guys still out on international duty, Mo Salah as well, Wataru Endo, Hee Chan, Son, and Mitoma, all of those at the Asian Cup. Michael Olise and Egbert Eze had really good games last week, 14 and 16 points respectively. Both are doubtful for this week, so just thought I might want to call that out in case anyone was inspired by their performance last week. Looking at the midfielders that could be more consistent, Douglas Luiz and Diaby for Villa, good fixtures coming up, and both of them are proven at scoring. Pascal Gross at Brighton as well. Madison, Richarlison at Spurs, definitely a pairing that you want to look into. Fairly priced as well for the points that they're getting. Same with Jared Bowen and Ward Prowse. Ward Prowse doing really well. He is really living up to that dead ball specialist and assist master, so definitely want to keep in mind on. 6, he is super affordable. Then looking at Bournemouth, Marcus Tavernier is known to score in the easier matches and good at assists as well, so might be worth by looking at him if you're stuck for cash. And then again, midfield, looking at Chelsea, Raheem Sterling is known to shine in some of the easier fixtures, and then you've got Cole Palmer, who's doing really well this season. Now, there's a lot of good picks here, 5.4, 5.66. These are things that you want to look at, midfielders and players that you want to look at. Scoring consistently, not costing a lot. Douglas Luiz as well, 5.6. If you want to have money to spend on Erling Haaland, who's coming back and worth 14, and then looking at Mo Salah, who's obviously going to come back imminently, and that's another 13. So those are a lot of money to spend on players that are coming back. Son is also fairly expensive. If you want to have cash to splash on these players, you've got to look to save your money elsewhere and really go for these good players that are value for money. And then you've got Anthony Gordon is another one at 6.1, looking to capitalize on the good run that's coming up from Newcastle. Looking at the forwards, quite a few that are doubtful, but might still play our picks that are doubtful, but you might want to look at. Callum Wilson and Isak from Newcastle, and João Pedro from Brighton is also doubtful, and then Chris Wood, who has been scoring a bit more regularly for Forest, but just one that you might want to have a look at. Looking at the picks again, going back and looking at the fixtures and those that are favorable fixtures, Ollie Watkins has been consistent again, and he's got a good run coming up. Might be worthwhile looking at him. Then you've got Dominic Solanke and Julian Alvarez, both of them at 7 and 7.1, really worthwhile looking at. Rasmus Højlund, even though Manchester United has been inconsistent, he has been on some stunning form recently. Definitely might be well worth a look against West Ham. And at 6.8, he's another one that you could possibly sneak in there. Ivan Toney is doing really well since he's been back from his suspension. At 8, he's pretty expensive and a tough game coming up this week. And in the next few weeks, if you remember, Brentford's got City twice in the next 3 weeks, and then Liverpool also in that mix. But those teams have also been conceding goals, so Tony might be the guy who can still score. Think about it, but not really recommending and pushing too much. Same with João Pedro, also known to get goals, but he is doubtful, so he might not be a good one to bring in this week. And then, of course, I left the best for last. Erling Haaland is now fully fit and back. He's super expensive. If you've got the money, you might want to look at him. Not a very easy match this week against a Brentford team that is looking to points, but once that's done, they have a fairly easy run, a fairly good run, and he's going to want to be putting goals under his belt. So we'll definitely want to look at. So the big game for this week is, of course, Arsenal versus Liverpool. So keep an eye on that one. But we'll be back with all the scores in the next video update. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment if you like what you see, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.